Yeah, so when we're looking at this roster, obviously Caleb's new to the team, myself, there's a new coaching staff, and so you have similar pieces, but a different puzzle. And at the end of the day, we have to figure out how these pieces are all going to fit together. I'm a big believer that even if you have a really good roster or a solid roster, that you always look to improve. And if an opportunity comes to get better and to improve your roster or create competition in specific positions, you do it. And sometimes it's not exactly in the position you need at the time, but again, the player you can bring in brings a different level of quality or maybe variability in his ability on the ball. And so when you look at a player like David Guzman, he's proven to be a winner. He's played at the highest level internationally, and he obviously can help provide not just depth, but if Will, for example, is gone during Gold Cup, he can step in and start. My experience shows me that you can never have too many good central midfielders who are really good on the ball technically, especially with the brand of football that we like to play. So that's obviously him. And then in terms of obviously want to thank Justin Miram for all the years that he's contributed to this club. There's opportunities in our league where to pick up players, and unfortunately we have salary cap, and so that means that you have to figure out how to make room, but you also have to do it in a way that matches the timing that with the transfer windows and the trade windows. So I want to thank him for his contributions, and then obviously today we picked up David Akam, we've clearly have had issues scoring goals this year. I think for various periods of time we were creating the chances, but and not finishing. But now in a lot of ways we feel like teams are smothering Giassi and not giving him the time and space. And so the ability to pick up a player with the pace and physical attributes of David is going to serve us well. And so we're excited about him. And then lastly, loaning Lawless out is part of the development of our young players. He's not the youngest on the team, but all players, young and old, need games to keep up their craft, to continue to develop. And we've looked at opportunities to loan Lawless as well as other players to the USL, which you've seen us do. This was even a better opportunity because we could get him games in experience in MLS. He went to Dayton, and so he's been in Ohio for a long period of time. And so for him to get an experience with an MLS team, we thought it would be the best for him from a developmental perspective. And then we were able to pick up assets in TAM. So that was clearly a win-win. So we're excited about the moves. For each window, you have to look at your team, both in the short run and in the long run. And we felt like we don't want to make any moves that would prohibit us from doing anything long term, right? It could be you make a change or an acquisition to allow yourself time to continue to learn about the team while improving. But I'm a big believer that this process, with the staff that we have and our ownership group, we're really looking to continue to grow over the next 2 or 3 years.
Throughout this transfer window, were you trying to balance, like you said, getting better right now in the short run, and maybe also positioning yourself to get a designated player in that summer transfer window?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Again, it depends on the opportunities and the players that we're scouting in terms of whether or not the summer is when we're going to bring in a designated player. But it's something we're looking at, right? We can bring in DPs and buy current DPs down, not buy them down, but convert them to TAM. Not to get too geeky on the salary cap for the fans, but you can convert certain DPs down and bring in 1, 2, or 3 new players depending on what our budget can provide. So yeah, it's certainly this aspect of what are needs now to continue to be competitive in the Eastern Conference, right? We learn a lot. I'm a big believer that you learn more about yourself when maybe you're in a downturn and not getting results or not winning games. And I felt like this was a good period to us to look ourselves in the mirror and say, hey, what do we need to make sure that we remain competitive in the Eastern Conference while we start to think about things long term. But certainly believe that this roster, can compete. They clearly have shown in the past that they've been able to get to the playoffs and make runs. Obviously, a little bit older, but at the same time, if we can get the right dynamic and the motivation from the players, and Caleb and myself are working on that with Pat, then we know we can win.
Do you think you make as many moves if you guys